Hi yogis, thank you for joining me. My name is Adrien, and today we're going to go through a little flow here just to work into the hips, get those hips, inner and outer hips nice and open, working into a little bit of strength as well as some stretches throughout the rest of the body. Go ahead and start in your wide-legged child's pose. So just take your time to come on over. I'm going to bring the knees out just as far as feeling okay for you. Big toes to touch. And I can like to shimmy and sway here before just coming and diving straight down into this posture. And you can even continue to stay up tall if this is not really, the earth is not really feeling where you want to go just yet. Or you can also take the fingertips forward, melting the forehead down. Spending this time to connect with the earth and connect with your breath. Just noticing how you're feeling throughout your body. A couple more long, deep breaths in this posture. Then lift the forehead up off of the earth. Go ahead and shift forward and bring the hands underneath the shoulders and the knees underneath the hips, coming into this tabletop position. Nice wide hands here. Just going through a few rounds of cat-cow. Just noticing where there's maybe stiffness or tightness through the body. Just let yourself know that you're going to honor those spaces and move in ways that feel appropriate for you. Coming back to center, we're going to walk the knees in towards each other. So knees are zipping in towards each other. I'm going to widen my hands a little further out. And then I'm going to just start to dip the hip over towards that right side of the mat. So that shoulder can actually come up towards the ear, then come up over towards center. And we're going to let the hip fall down. It doesn't need to come all the way down to the earth, over to the opposite side. So we're going to do that a few times, taking the hip over to one side, one of the only times that the shoulder can come up towards the ear, just feeling this nice good stretch into the side body, maybe throughout hips. Just a couple more times, swishing the hips back and forth. And if there's a sticky space along the way that you'd like to stay, please listen to that and do so. Let's go ahead and do that one more time on each side. You can always pat at the knees if this is feeling like it's too sensitive for your knees. Come back up to center. Now we're going to take the knees nice and wide. So the hands are nice and wide and the knees are nice and wide. And then we're going to start to send the hips over towards the right side. And then let the hips come down towards the heels, almost like our child's pose we had just a moment ago. And then start to make these big circles here. And your circles may not look like my circles, and that's perfectly fine. I want you to tap into what intuitively feels good for you. Maybe bending through the elbows, maybe adding a little bit of a head sway. And then the next time that you're upright, just switch directions, taking the hips to that opposite side. And always work into the hands a little bit here. I like to turn the fingertips towards the wide edge of the mat and then towards the body. You can just test that out, or you can just continue to keep the fingertips forward. Just a few more times, checking it all out. And then coming back up, if you have the fingertips facing anywhere but forward, please turn them back towards the front. Walk the knees back in. Take the hands now right in front of the shoulder heads. We're going to tuck the toes under, just rock back and forth a few times just to wake up the soles of the feet. And then whenever you're ready, go ahead and hover the knees up off of the earth. Take the hips up towards the ceiling, come into your downward facing dog. Pedal out a few times through your down dog. Once again, it might feel good to shake the head yes and no. And then coming into stillness, walk the big toes together. Take that right heel up towards the ceiling into your three-legged dog. Bend the knee, stack the hip. See if you can stay square in the shoulders, and you can take a peek underneath that right armpit chest. You might want to roll the ankle out in one direction, and then the opposite direction. Go ahead and recenter, release the foot down. We're going to do that on the other side now. So lift that left heel up, bend the knee, stack the hip, send that knee up a little bit higher, and then maybe take a peek underneath that left armpit chest. Opening up through the hip. Might feel good to find some circles in the ankle in one direction and then the other direction. Release the foot back down to the earth. Go ahead and take a little stroll all the way to the front of the mat. At the front of the mat, we're going to find our dangle pose here, our ragdoll. So take a hold of opposite hand into opposite elbow, bend through the knee, and maybe rock and sway a little bit side to side. No tension in the neck. Let that upper part of the body just hang loose. Release the clasp of the hands, let the hands come down to the earth. Bending into that right knee, right hand stays down, and then that left hand is going to reach up skyward, coming into a twist here. Release the hand down, bending now into that left knee, left hand down, and right hand comes up. Let's do that one more time on each side. Bending into right knee, right hand down, the left hand reaches skyward. And then release the hand down, bend into that left knee, right hand reaches up. Release both hands down. Come into your halfway lift. Mount down to fold. Bend the knees, cross the arms, shoot the fingertips, come all the way up into a tall mountain. And then palms meet above the head and come into heart center. Take a nice deep inhale in. And then exhale, release and let it go. Inhale, reaching up tall. Lead with the chest and come all the way down into your forward fold. Plant the hands onto earth and step one foot back and the other foot back, coming into your downward facing dog. Rise up onto the balls of the feet. Lower the heels back down. Again, raising up onto the balls of the feet. Lower the heels back down. Raise up onto the balls of the feet, shift the weight forward and come into your plank pose. No pressure in the wrists. Breathe here. Dome into that upper back as if you were in cat. Then send the hips back again into your down dog. Walk the big toes to touch. Right heel raises skyward, three-legged dog. Knee comes in towards heart. Shift forward like you're in plank again. Then step or carry the foot to the front of the mat. That left hand lines up with the foot and stays down. We're going to open up that right arm, come into an easy twist here. Release both hands down to the inside of the foot. We're going to pivot that back foot, big transition to press ourselves up into our warrior two. You can reposition the legs, however you need to. We're lining the heel up with that back heel or the arch of that back foot, bending into this front knee. Take the gaze over the middle finger of that front arm. Lean forward, rock back, reverse your warrior. That back hand can be along the leg or come along the lower back while we reach up and overhead. Release and come back again into that warrior two. Lean forward. And once again, rock back, coming into that reverse warrior. Keep that bend to the front knee. And last time, come into that warrior two. Lean forward, rock back, reverse your warrior. Nice, come back to that warrior two. Cartwheel the hands down. Bring that front foot, turn that back toe so both feet are facing towards the front of the mat. We're going to step this front foot to meet back foot and come back again into that downward facing dog. Come up onto the balls of the feet, lower the heels back down. Again, raise up onto the balls of the feet, lower the heel back down. Come up onto the balls of the feet, shift forward into your plank pose. Stay strong, breathe here, invite the shake in the body, crown of head is forward, gaze is between the hands, breathe. Then hips come back again, up towards the ceiling, downward facing dog. Walk the big toes to touch. Left heel raises high this time. Knee comes in towards heart, round. Then step or carry the foot to the front of the mat. Right hand stays down, left hand reaches up as we twist open here. Both hands come down to the inside of the foot. Pivot that back heel, reach yourself up, come into your warrior two. Make any adjustments that you need to. Finding your stance, lean forward, rock back, reverse your warrior. Once again, lean forward, come back to warrior two. Got ahead of myself here. Lean forward, rock back, reverse your warrior. Once again, coming back to warrior two. Lean forward, rock back, keep that bend in the front knee. That, excuse me, left arm up and overhead. And then come back again into that warrior two. Hands come down to frame the foot. Pivot that back foot. Step that front foot to meet back foot. Last time with this downward facing dog. Lowering the knees down to the earth. Walk the big toes to touch. Knees come nice and wide. And once again, we're going to sink back, do a little check-in, and see the difference coming into down into that wide-legged child's pose for just a couple breaths. Ooh, I'm a little out of breath here. Working hard. Now keep the feet and the knees as they are. Walk the hands back behind. Now I'm going to take the feet so that they are coming out into a frog pose, but we're staying tall. So now I'm taking that ankle right behind the knee. Nice wide stance here. And in this frog, just find this rocking movement back and forth. So the hands are underneath the shoulders, really checking in to those inner hips and into that groin area. Rocking back and forth a few times. Then come into stillness. I'm going to take that left knee and bring it in. I'm just going to turn so that I'm facing towards you. Then I'm going to take that right foot out. Step the foot down. So think about a kneeling warrior two, where that ankle is now lined up with the knee. You can keep the hands onto the earth and just kind of play back and forth a few times here. You can take the hand to that inner thigh, or maybe even come up into that kneeling position. You can always pat up that knee if you need to. Just again, feeling into this nice stretch into the groin, into that inner thigh. Couple more times, feeling into this. Nice, and then we're just going to turn and pivot the toes. So think about your gate pose now. Toes are facing forward. We're pressing into the knife edge of the foot. And I'm going to take the hands now into this nice Y shape. I'm going to move back just slightly so that you can see me a little bit better. So arms are out into this nice Y shape. And once again, maybe you just rock back and forth like you did in frog pose. Or if it's in your practice, you can bring the hip, the bottom down towards that back heel, melting down into this water bug pose for just a few breaths. If you're folded back, go ahead and come back up nice and tall. Draw that leg in and then just come into that tabletop position, finding a few rounds of cat-cow. Now we're going to check it out on the opposite side. So bring the big toes to touch, knees nice and wide, then widen the toes out. So now we're in this frog position. The heels are right below the knees. The feet are flexed out to the side. And then we just rock back and forth a few times. You can widen those knees, or you can bring them in closer together. I suggest you pad them up if your knees are feeling sensitive. So a few rocks back and forth. Nice, and then we're gonna come into that kneeling warrior two on the opposite side. So I'm gonna bring that right knee so that it's in line with the wrist. I'm gonna turn and pivot that opposite leg so that it's facing outward. And then we'll come into our movement here. Either hand can be down onto earth, or it can be on the top of that leg, or you can even come up into that kneeling position if that feels better for you. We're rocking back and forth, kneeling into this kneeling warrior two. That side feels better than the other. I kind of like a little circular movement. You can test that out too. It's not unusual to have one hip or one side of the body feel tighter than the other. So just notice without passing judgment. All right, nice. Now we're gonna come into that water bug variation. So I'm gonna turn the toe so that it's facing forward. I'm gonna bring the hands down, take them out into this nice big wide Y shape, and then just find this little rock and pivot back and forth here. Feeling into a different direction of those hips. I always like this, it feels like it stretches all the muscles around the knees as well for me. You can stay tall and continue to find that rocking movement, or if you would like, you can sink the hips back towards that back heel, lowering the forearms and the head down. And if that's too intense, just stay up and just keep rocking. Couple breaths wherever you're at, whether you're folded forward or still rocking. If you are folded forward, please come back up. Bring the hands back underneath the shoulders. Zip the legs together. Then we're just going to come back one more time into that wide-legged child's pose. Just sinking the hips back and down, just noticing the changes and the difference from when we began. Couple deep breaths. Take the hands underneath the shoulders, rock back, swing those legs around towards the front. Bring the soles of the feet together, knees nice and wide. Then we're just going to find a restorative posture here in our butterfly pose. So first, shift the chest forward, and then let the hands come down, facing up towards the ceiling in a state of surrender. Tuck the chin in towards the chest, let everything round and come in. And then just melt down here for a few long, deep breaths. Take one more deep, generous inhale. And exhale. Turn the palms down. Walk yourself back up to that tall spine. Come into your easy pose for just a moment. Just gonna find one little gentle twist to each side. Reach the fingertips up. Twist over towards the right side. Left hand comes to the knee, right hand behind. Come back up to center. Little twist to the other side. Come back around to center. Guide the hands into heart center. Roll the shoulders back. Take a couple moments to close the eyes down. And just feel the full effects of your practice washing over your body. I want to thank you for joining me and sharing your practice and your energy. Let me know how it went for you in the comments below. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and namaste.